Again, everybody, it's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday morning, the 19th of August, and this is the weekend webinar. Once again, an important week in the markets, as you can see now, down almost 300 points on the S&P in 3 weeks, coming through a couple layers of support, but more importantly, the 50-day and the rising intermediate trend line since the March low have also been taken out. So this becomes a much deeper retrace, similar to what we had in February, March. Now, if you look at this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we have maybe where you have some problems coming ahead of us. But I also know certain people are looking at this as a basically a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I don't look at it that way. So I am a little bit more protective here, or cautious is the word. 43.28 is your next major support, and the low on Friday was 43.35. We're pretty much right there. So it wouldn't shock me if we got a bounce, and I saw we had a little late bounce on Friday before the last couple of minutes of pullback. The ideal scenario would be that this is leg 1 and we come leg 2 back up to 44.50, at which point it's an excellent shorting opportunity for wave 3, which would take it down towards 42, 30, 40 range. If we get if it's a 3-wave corrective, then we can move up to 46 and even 4,800. If it's much deeper than that and this thing comes down directly towards 4,200 near the secondary support from where we are and the intermediate trend line since the last October's low, then this is a much deeper retrace in leg 1, and then we get leg 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe, which could lead into the high 3,000s or worse. I'm not giving you a bearish scenario, I'm giving you a worst case scenario. It's also the plus side as well. That's the S&P. Here's the NDX. Similar, we've had a much deeper retrace, taking the NDX from 15,932 to Friday's low of 14,557. That's 1,400 points, more than 10%, about 12, 11% off the high already. And we're at the major trend line from the January low. So this could be considered as a 1, 2, and then a 3, 4, with the third wave being a very large 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up move. So in analyzing this, it's still very conceivable that we've seen an important bottoming pattern, but we may have a problem getting back to 15.3. And if we get anywhere near that and it looks weak and that starts to roll over, then we have a bigger problem, in which case we can see a 14.2, even 13.6 down here. That would entail a trend line break. So the key support is right near. So we're going to find out next week whether we plunge down quickly and get down to 14.2-3 zone, or we're going to bounce in here and get up to test the 15.2-3 zone. Small cap stocks took it on the chin, much deeper. Take a look, and have never broken out of the base pattern. Much like when you look how these trail compared to the S&P. Here's the S&P since the October low. Excuse me. And you can see the rising channel along with the NDX. Very strong rallies. But you look at the small caps, IWM hasn't done more than rally here and twice failed to get through the August 22 high. And now the current rising channel was broken, and key support right around 179.5, 80 being challenged. Now we did get down to 181.94 before bouncing to close at 184.57. So we actually had a nice reversal day potentially on the IWM, but one day does not a bottoming make. So we'll see. Transportation, similar, but much stronger than the IWM, for example. We got all the way up to the highs from March of 22, so about 15-month high on that transportation, but a hard rollover as testing the 50-day moving average, and lateral price support comes in a little lower at 15,350 below here. Let's look at the oscillators. They got to a pretty oversold reading. In fact, the most oversold since March. March low was minus 252.80, and yesterday's low minus 237.68. Pretty close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times we've gotten this range, or a little lower, and we've had some important rallies off that level. So we're oversold from that aspect. And a nice reversal bar usually accompanies a low like we had here, here, and almost every one of these bottoms are followed by a reversal bar. So let's see if there's a follow through early next week or not, or whether we need to come down a little bit further. Now we've seen reversal bars from a higher level that ended up at a lower low. Here, for example, and then lower. And then, a couple other examples showing reversal bars and then a lower low. The percentage of stocks above their 40 have dropped down about 25% at one point. About a third of stocks are still above their 40. 2/3 are not. Not much has happened with the VIX. We did get up into the 18-19 zone. It's the highest level we've seen since June, but we had way higher levels in March when this thing got up to 30, 31, and back in September when it was in the mid 30s. This is way below historical levels. Here's a weekly. And you can see that in the 40s and 50s is common when the market gets near a bottom. So that's some concern. Not a lot of fear, at least not from what we can see. Okay, let's look at some of the major components because these are interesting and definitely concerning. Apple in particular, which has gone from 124 all the way up to almost 200, 198 and change, has come down hard in three weeks to 198 to 171. And now you know why Nasdaq's come down as hard as it has. And right now it's not even a 50% fib, more like a 0.375. So let's see what it does here. We had a nice little mini reversal Friday, taking it from 171.70 to close at 174.70, $3 off the low. Amazon. Well, Amazon came off the 50 and the rising channel bottom right here. Very important. Friday's low at about 131 could cause a further decline into 127, and Amazon won't be pretty if that occurs. This is right on the major rising channel going back to March. Google, right on support, didn't bounce well. On the trend line, lateral price support as well. I would stop this one under the VWAP in the 124.90 to 125. Microsoft has broken its trend line, broken lateral price support, moving averages are rolling over. This is not a good looking pattern. I would say that below Friday's low, Microsoft could start to cascade lower. It's currently, that support is 311, next support is 302 and 294. Powerhouse NVIDIA has rallied twice in the last week where it went sharply higher on Monday, Tuesday, and then came down but bounced up Friday. This is a key level for it. 100% stop now under 403. Secondary target 379.80. The long-term rising channel angle has been broken. You can pull it right back there, and you'll see a different angle, a little bit more parallel. You can give this the benefit of doubt, but you better stop it under 400, 401. If it does pop again and go back out, we're looking for a retest of 485 and eventually 530, 40 in that zone. Tesla. This is also below its trend line, below lateral price support. This is looks like a head and shoulder or rounding type top that's been broken. There is some support at Friday's low around 212. You break there and you may be headed and cascading down towards 195 in that area. Be really careful with Tesla. Now, it has been down for 6 days in a row and 10 out of 11, so it's probably due for a snapback, which could get it up to 230, 33, something like that. If it rallies on low volume, it'd be very dangerous. Let's check on Meta and Netflix. Well, Meta is broken. Netflix also has broken a head and shoulder top. It's at the trend line. We've broken the trend line on Meta and we've broken lateral price support. This one looks much more dangerous right now. First support the 262, and that would be ugly from here at 283. So keep an eye on a couple of these stocks that have look much weaker than the others and could create some kind of downward spiral for the market. Now we have to look at some of the big boys, and now look at some of the ETFs we follow closely. The SMH Semiconductor Index came right down to its major trend line after a multiple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth of a fifth and a double top. I'm not surprised we pulled back. We're right on support though. At this point, 143.5 is stop. Your next target is 136 and below. If the trend line holds, semiconductors could lead this market back up. Resistance 162, and then the target's 175.77 if we get the next leg up. Financials, well, they have not done great, to say the least, and you can see that way different long-term down channel. Current rising channel was broken, so was moving averages and price support. I'm concerned about financials leading the market lower, much lower potentially. If the market does come down, financials will be a place maybe to be short. And biotechs are no picnic, folks. Look at this. The LABU is at all-time lows in a triple bottom area. The XBI, not much better, although it's above the all-time lows from May and June. This is looking better, and I would concentrate more on this one, give us a better idea where biotechs might be headed. We've got a 1, 2, 3, so I'm looking for the potential of a bounce up to 81. Then that may be difficult to get through, and there's a possibility we come down to 72.3 before it's over. I can't tell yet whether we get a 3-wave corrective or a 5-wave down channel, but this is not exactly looking great. It did have a reversal day on Friday. Financials did not. Semiconductors did as well, but slightly. So I'm still skeptical about this market and the potential for next week until we see more of a selling climax. We'll find out. Let's take a look at the major, other than the SMH and the some of the other ETFs we follow for gold, silver, oil and gas, etc. And gold is going nowhere, and I'm not sure why anybody's interested in this commodity right now. You can see the GDX breaking its trend line, snapping back and failing and rolling over, not far from key support at 26.90.27. Nugget looks a little different, but not much. Very weak. JNUG as well is taken out. Quite frankly, key support is now at the lowest level since last November. Silver is not much better, but it is on the trend line on the AGQ. Let's move over to the oil, which has been very strong and broken out of a base pattern and now wedging. If we don't break down under 70, your target's going to be 75, 78, 80, etc. Some pretty key resistance, however, up near 79, 80. That would be a target on this leg up if this breaks to the upside. UCO similar. Always look at Gush. Gush has broken that trend line, this declining tops line, and up near lateral resistance. Right now, your target is 167.5, and then we're looking at 185.87. Last week's low would be a complete stopping point under 150. I suspect that holds and we go higher, but we'll see. Natural gas, well, UNG tried to break out. It did, but left an island reversal and came down to support. EOLD with natural gas backing off is rallied back, but it's very suspect because let's take a look at this. This looks like a massive top with multiple tops up here in the mid 80s. A 1, 2, 3, and that little mini fourth wave rising wedge tells me that nat gas may not be done going down yet. And I would look for something in the high 40s, maybe low 40s if it doesn't break out. If it does break out, your target's 59 and 67. A lot of stocks to talk about, both long and short. I found some new shorts for you, but for now, here's the stocks I like on the long side. Now, ABCM's had a big 1, 2, 3, 4 But with this market and the condition it's in, I'm not sure that it survives if it breaks 21. Keep your stop on the 2090 thereabout. We do get a fifth wave up. You can see the count calls for a big move into the 30s. ACHR trend line intact. Bounced off of it Friday, but it's still in a wedge. Should we take this out? 7.5 and 9.5 potential targets. Stop under 5. ACMR. Nice coil developing. 2 weeks ago it popped. It's been flagging for a week and a half. It needs to get over 14.25. Targets are 15.5, 17.5, 20. ACOR. This biotech stock among the few that are really exceptionally strong. You can see the rising channel and a flag currently, but there is some double, triple top resistance at 23.4 zone, your target, if it takes out 19. ADMA popped out last week and then pulled back. It's something I like on a long-term basis. Look at this chart. Longer-term target now $7. AEHR, one of our favorites for a while now, is turned weaker, but it's still above some key lateral support around 37.75, 38. You can see if it breaks that, it's cooked. AHI popped, falling wedge, and now it's trying to like pop, but each time doing it with even more volume and good OBV. So I'm not giving up on this one yet, but I needed to get above 5.5 for energy. If so, targets 7 and 10. Well, AI looked like it was going to explode as it formed a big coil in wave 4, but it came down. That's the trend line. In 2.5 weeks, it's dropped from 45-ish to 28.5. Big drop. In a support zone. Key resistance now 34.5 and 37. Alamera Biosciences. Formed a nice coil and popped out of it, got to the high and backed off. But should we get to the double top, say above 390, I'm looking 5.5. Alvo popped a wedge on Friday in the midst of a lousy market. Something may be brewing there. You can see the way it looks. There's a double top about 1060, 65. We get to that, we'll test the gap 11.75. AMD dipped under support Friday, like many of the tech stocks, but is it a head fake? Well, we'll find out. Stop at Friday's low under 101.5 or so. Target could be 110.12 and even 120. ANF, this retailer in the middle of this lousy market, has done fabulous. How about 14 to 43? Tripled since September of last year. But it is up against resistance if it extends 47.8 target. Another biotech that's on the run and breaking out. A new 3-year high this week and now flagging near the 62 range. Target is 68. Nice little flag. APG in the engineering construction group broke out a real month ago and has been flagging ever since. The projections on this one now come up in the 35 range. APP, well, it's an old swinger bars we got in May when it popped out and flagged, but it just kept going. And from the 2021 zone, it made it up to nearly 40. That being 40.04, you know. So that's a double, and now it's flagging. Next target, 45.48. Arlo popped out of a base here with a breakaway gap, formed a wedge and a flag. Coiled again, flagged again, but this time went down and reversed. Careful on this one though, under 9, stop. Over 11.65, run with it to 13.14 and 17.18. AUDC, after a long decline, may have reversed here, and now it's pulled back and formed a little bit of a falling channel. Looks orderly. Technicals look very good. Keep an eye on this one. AUGX popped out of a coil, made a new high on Wednesday at 5.75, and backed off a little bit. Extension target though is 6.75. EUR popped out, formed the wedge. We put a swing on it. I believe it was in the 2.75 range. It made it up to 3.75 and backed off. It's still in a rising configuration. I like this for move to 4.5 and eventually 6. AXNX broke out a month ago, pulled back, popped again, and now it's wedging. Nice setup, I believe. Moving averages have crossed over. They're moving up. Move over to 64 range. We should get to 68 and 72. South American airline Azul, inverse head and shoulder, breakaway run, and a three-wave corrective pullback. Seems like this is the place to be buying it with a tight stop. Targets are 11, 14, and 16. BBIO, beautiful base breakout coil, a little mini rising channel, and then a breakaway gap, and now falling flag. My target's 40. First target 36. BLBD, nice long-term pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up, and now a coil. If it does go again, the targets are 29 and 37. Bloomin' Brands, the franchisee for Outback Steakhouses. Nice steady rising channel. It's up against resistance right here. Should it get through, your target's 30 and 33. BRBR, Bell Brands, breaks out of a coil, pops, and pulls back to test and reverses on Friday. Like the look of this. Intermediate target, high 40s. CAAP, something new. Look at this chart. It's a beautiful 45-degree angle rising channel. I don't know what's triggering this, but it broke out on Friday out of a 3-4 week long bull coil or flag. Doesn't look like it's done either. Probably headed for 17. Kaba, moving sideways for months now. It needs to get over, and that's what I'll be looking for. Move over 14.5 to get it going. Target then 19. CANT powerhouse move, powerhouse chart. It's run from the April low around 24 to double to 48. And now flagging. You should have get to 48, you might see mid 50s. CAPR breaks out of a base and goes vertical, and now backed and fill for 4 days. Next target is 9. CBay, beautiful rising channel in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th wave configuration, or is it a 1, 2, 3? I can't tell, but bottom line is I don't think it's done yet. And if it isn't, your target's at 15 and 20. CCJ, one of the largest purveyors of uranium, a beautiful rising channel with a 11, 12-year high. I think now headed towards the low to mid 40s. CDLX, nice inverse head and shoulder breakout. Little mini wedge pop and now a falling wedge. I think there's one more leg in it. 18 and 23 are targets. Cognite, broke out, coiled, we put a swing on it, and then moved from 4 to 6, pull back, support 4.5, resistance 5 3/4, target 6 3/4 and 7 3/4. Celestica, nice steady rising channel and then a breakaway, now a coil, target 25. CNTA, Junior Biotech, breaks out and sets up a wedge. Next target is 9.5. Cocoa, beautiful rising channel, now consolidating the big gains in the earlier this year. If it gets to 29, my target is going to be 35 and 40. COUR, popped out, and it's got a beautiful wedge for me. I will be right there. It might have popped that wedge on Friday. If it did, I'm targeting 17. Crocs. It's a tech trader short. I'll get to it later. CVNA. What a wonderful pop, coil pop, rising wedge, pop, pullback wedge on the moving average. There's where you stop it. Don't be in Carvana under 34, 4.5. The target, however, is mid 50s and then low 60s. CVRX, the medical device group, steady as she goes. There's resistance up here, but it looks like it wants to go through it. Target 2021. Daktronics in a beautiful rising channel all year. Now maybe headed for 11.5 for your next target. DBI popped with a breakaway gap, took out a declining tops line, ran up to resistance and backed and filled and coiled now for the last couple of months. Should this one get to 11, I would look for 13.5 and 15. Dropbox, nice base, breakout and wedge. Friday was a nice reversal. Your targets are 28.5 and 31. DraftKings, for the first time in 6, 7, 8 months, it's broken below the moving average trend lines and lateral price support. I would be awfully careful with this one. Stop under Friday's low, under 25, for example. It does rebound the targets to 34 and 38. DLO breaks out of a base with a breakaway gap, runs up to resistance and backs off and reverses. I like the overall look of this, but it's one of those volatile stocks. Your target 23.4 and then maybe 28.9. DMRC breaks out of a base, coils and breaks out of the coil and pulls back to test at support. Targets 39.45. DL, Diamond Offshore in a strong oil group, targeting 20. DSP breaks out of a base, pops and pulls back, and then reverses. Let's say your support is 550, resistance 645, target is 7.5 and 8. DVAX breaking out of a base, retesting and popping. It's in a nice rising channel. Target 16.75, 17 and 20. EDU in a beautiful rising channel all year. This Chinese educational stock gone from 9 to 59 in the past year and change. The pullback could be an entry up, as long as support holds at 46. Your targets are then 57 and 65. EOLS exploded, pulled back, and is backing and filling and wedging. If it gets to 11.5, your target's 14. Evolution Petroleum, inverse head and shoulder breakout, coil, hold the moving average, hold that line, breakout again, and now wedging, targeting 11.5 and 13. ETNB seems to have survived the pullback and reversed with an engulfing reversal on Friday. I now have a target of 20 and 22.5. High point in a beautiful rising channel and continuing, looks like it might be headed for 20. FNGR forming a large multi-week coil after a big run up. An amazing measure move of nearly 6 points with tag near 10, right about there for my next target. FREE came out of a long downtrend with short drop from mid-teens into the $2 range, popped out, and now it's coiling. We get through 4.5, I would look for 6. FRPT Tech Trader swing broke out. We put a swing on it. It's now coiling beautifully. Hopefully we pop and go target 90, 91, and then 100 thereabout. FRSH popped out, pulled back, same kind of pattern. Through 23, the target's 27 to 30. FTI, long rising channel and flagging. Should this get to 18, 90, 95, probably looking at 22.3. GAMB broke out of a base and then extended and broke to resistance. Looks like it's headed for 17. That's my target. GCT, long base, breakout, pullback, and now right back up at the resistance level and stalled here. But if it gets through, I would look for a 15, 16 range. Galat Satellite, after a long downtrend, finally reversed, retested in a falling wedge, ran up. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave looks like a 1, 2. I think 3, 4, and 5 may be coming. Looking for 8 and 9. GROV may be coming out of a base. Big week last week for it. It's up 5 days in a row and 10 out of 11. My target's 4.5 and 7. Coupon at the top of the channel near lateral resistance in a fifth wave. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Careful here, but momentum could carry this to 16. HRTG, beautiful long-term rising channel. It's taking this one from 1 to 6, but my target's 7 and 8. IDAI, pop, pull back, and pop again. Only make a nominal new high for the last few months and back off. But this rising wedge could explode to the upside. You can watch it carefully. Targets 4.75, 6.5. IDYA popped, flagged, and popped again on Friday. So I'm looking for 29.5 and 32.3. IMTX pulled back hard to the July low and held it, reversed, and then popped on Friday. There is a mini triple top at 12.80.85. We get through that. I'm looking for 14 and 16. IMVT, nice long-term chart, one of my top 20 picks for the year. Currently in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 way pullback to the trend line and a reversal on Friday. So what we need to do is get over 22.60 and then 23.5. Once you do that, your target is 25 and 28. INOD, a beautiful long-term rising channel. It's been a swing a couple times here, and right now it's set up to go more. 16 and 20 are targets. Internet of Things of Samsara IoT. Let's pull back to test the gap. Hopefully it holds Friday's low. Stop is on at 21.5. The target is 26, 29, and 31. KALV in a rising channel since last October when it was 4. It's gone up 150% to near 11, 11 and a quarter. It's flagging. The next target is 13. KOLD we went over earlier. That's a nat gas bear ETF. Chinese automotive stocks have reversed hard. This is the breakout down gap here. And this is a island gap there. Right now, any move under here, and this stock is dead. I don't want this under 37.5, and it's getting close. LMB in a beautiful long-term rising channel has taken itself from 5.5 to 33 and change. The momentum targets is 39. Lights broke out Thursday. We put a swing on it, followed through Friday, and backed off a little bit. Boy, does this look like it wants to be high teens, low 20s. NBC, I just found this one today. It popped and broke out in May. It's been in a rising channel ever since with a target of 14. MDGX, similar with a breakaway gap, a pop and a flag, and now a pop and a wedge. There's a wedge in wave 4, I believe. Your target is 8.5 and 9.75. MNSO broke out back in November of last year and ran up to the resistance level, pulled back for 6 months and consolidated, and now it's poised to pop again. If it gets to 21.75, it can be high 20s. MOD took off in May and then on a breakaway gap and never looked back, taking itself from about high teens to the high 40s. Doesn't look done to me, although it's a little extended here. MRAM, new beautiful rising channel, support around 890, and the target is 11.5 and 13. NARV broke out, put a swing on it, and it popped, flag popped, and now it's coiled or coiling. Angles change, I believe. I believe that's the new angle we're looking at right now. If we get another wave up, which I think we might, 14 and 20 are targets. Nanox rolled over hard, bounced Friday. We put a swing on it, immediately cracked support. It's at the gap. This stock completely fooled me because we had such a nice swing here and then it broke down and snapped back. But this I thought was oversold enough to get a decent bounce, but never followed through. Empower, pop, wedge, an explosive move out of that wedge. Literally took it from 11.5 to near 16. The target's 17, and through that we're looking at 19.5, 20. ORIC broke out. We put a swing on it. It's been coiling and now it broke out again, but backed off. The target's 11.25.5 and 14.75. Oscar with a big pop, pulled back, explosive pop, and then a rising pattern that took it back all the way back to test the highs from 2022, early 2022, only to pull back again. Resistance 8.5, targets are 10 and 13. OUST V bottom with a platform. It looks like it exploded but could not break out and pull back. Watch this one for a move to 7.75. If so, target is 9.75. PAY, rising channel and breakaway gap, followed by a falling wedge. Good technicals. Looks like this wants to break out, and if so, I'll have to put a target right there near 18. PESI broke out of a mini base, ran up hard, pulled back, and then popped again, falling wedge and pop again. It's poised to really get going here and move into a 15-year high if we can get it to the mid-teens. PETQ broke out of a base after a V bottom and a platform and been steadily rising. My target now is 25. PLSE, Pulse, broke out of a base here and now it's coiling. The setup is for moving to the 10-12 range. PAL exploded, we put a swing on it and it's now backing and filling in a wedge. My target's 101, 103. Power Solutions, Pioneer Power PPSI broke out here, wedge popped and bigger wedge. Popped again a wedge, but this time settled back. Key support and stops on the 4 3/4. I prefer it doesn't go into 6. My targets are 10 and 12. Quanterix break out of a base in a rising channel. Is finally pulling back in a falling wedge, but I think it extends to 31. Remedy Global in a rising channel popped out 2 weeks ago, and now it's wedging. Looks like 26 and 30 maybe had. Big rising pattern for Redo coming off the lows near $1. The stock has gone up 6-fold, so it's extended. But if it does anything further than that, we might very well get it up to 8 before it's over. Rigetti's been a beauty. It's a 1, 2, 3, and now a 4-way 4 wedge, but don't confuse that as a possibility of head and shoulders as well. 100% stop now is a must under 160. Target is 5 3/4 if it goes. Transocean, long coil breakout and now flagged, looking for 10 and 12. Roku came out of a falling wedge, stair-stepped its way higher in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move, and now a much deeper retrace. But I do want to see this one. I want to see if it can hold it right about 74. The targets are now 88, 93, and 110. Market cooperating, of course. Rhythm, one of my top 20 picks for the year, had a big run and then pulled back, broke out, and now it's just sitting here consolidating in that zone. The breakout over 27, we're looking at 34. Seadrill, been in a beautiful coil, and it finally ran up and broke out of the coil, and it's been steady ever since. From the 33.4 range over 50, my target is 57. Sweet Greens breaks out of the long-term downtrend and through lateral price resistance. Runs up from the 6 range and gets up to near 17. And now the pullback wedge. If I can break this out, I would look for 17 and 21. Sapiens breaks out of a base, flags, pops, and now it's retesting. 32.5 target. Carol's Restaurants, TAST, breaks out of a double top right there out of its base and keeps running. There's a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th way is underway. I believe that takes you to 10.5, 11. Thread up coming off the low, a spike low in November. Slow but steady rising channel with the target now 5.5 3/4. Tilray explodes from $1.50 to over 3, doubles and then pulls back, but it may not be done. My target's now 3 3/4. TSAT breaks out of a beautiful base. We put a swing on it. It ran sharply for 3 days and backed off. Watch for this one to resume its advance and move back into the 17 range. Tasha breaks out of a base with a massive gap, runs up to resistance and backs off, reverses Friday. Watch this one, 2.5, 3, and 4.5 targets. ULB Ultra Battery Life, ULBI with a major breakaway gap and a run up is now pulled back to do some coiling, wedging, I should say. That's what this looks like. To break that wedge, we'll look for a retest of 9 and then maybe 10.5 and 11 3/4. Upward with a breakaway gap and now a pullback falling flag of sorts. It's a bullish configuration, might be a swing. If we get to 14.5, I would look for 17 and 19. Vera breaks out with a big pop, Vera Therapeutics in June and runs from about 740, eventually gets over 20, near 20.25 for a near triple. And now it's setting up this consolidation here, targeting 22.5, 25. VRNA has been consolidating since December after a big run up, and now it's time for this thing to make a move, but keep an eye on support at 16.5. Resistance and targets at 22.3 and 25.6. VRT in a fantastic rising, sharply rising channel. Anglo set is huge. Flagging here says we may be mid-40s before this is over. Weave makes a base pattern, runs up sharply and now pulls back. Key support around 930.40. Target is 12 and 15. Weatherford's been in a monster trend all year. From last July at 17 to this August at 88, it's been a monster. I don't see a top in here. This could be 100, 120. U.S. Steel takeover talks, it exploded, now wedging. I don't think this is done until it gets to mid to high 30s. XPO Logistics, beautiful rising channel. My favorite transportation company, although it's pulling back to test support. The stop zone is 64, the target's 84. YPF in the oil and gas group is now flagging in here. Acts like a stock that isn't done either. Targets are 18 3/4, 23, 26. And finally, that's the finally one. We're going to do some shorts for you, and we'll finish up for today. Crocs Tech Trader swing short worked very well. As you can see, broke the bear flag, and it's come down right to target number 1 and bounced. It did get the 90.91 zone, tagging 90.85, and bounced. Bounces up near 99.100, and it does it on a weak volume. Then watch for another leg to the downside to get you down to 83.4. IINT broke its bear flag and came down and broke support. Bounced on Friday, so watch 18. If it keeps below that, it starts to roll over. Next target is 13. BMEA came down hard, bear flagged and broke, then ran up to resistance and failed and broke down again. My target's 14 and 11.5. Duolingo, I added it this weekend. I saw the breakdown from that topping type pattern into the trend line. I'm now looking for a move to 114.15 and then 105. The XCM's another. If they're breaking the trend line and forming a bear flag, this broke down. If this gets down below 102, I would now look for something in the 93.4 zone, possibly even in the 80 area. EL's been a disaster all year and has gone from literally from 366 down to 156, losing more than 200 points in 1, 2, 3, 4, a massive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. So I'm not sure I'd be shorting it here. Probably looking to cover closer to 140.45. HOLX, head and shoulder top broke, snapped back to the neckline and failed, and it's coming down. At this point, I would look for HOLX possibly as a Tech Trader swing down to 69. 68.9 is my first target, and maybe we come in the low 60s. That topping pattern is definitely broken. INTA also broke, snap back. We'll have to see if it breaks though. If it gets out on the 33, target's 27.8. Las Vegas, look at this massive head and shoulder top. It's right at the neckline. If it breaks, it's going to come down hard and fast. Target 46. LW broke down hard from the bear flag and then broke down again. There's a big gap here and it's got a bounce right at it. See it? If it fails on any bounce near 97.99, it could be wave 4 rollover for another big down towards 85.6. MANH looked like it was going to break to the upside. It failed right at 194 and then rolled over 11 points. It's right on the neckline of what looks like a breakdown pattern. I'm now looking for a move to 170, 72, and 165. OMC broke a topping pattern, rallied to resistance, and it's come down now. Targeting 74 and 63. Impinge is too low. I think too low to short after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. So I've indicated cover. Rambus breaks down and forms a bear flag or bear wedge or whatever kind of consolidation you want to call this. But if it breaks that pattern, look out below. 40 is your target. Sage, very similar to a couple others we just showed you that are too far too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a big massive fifth wave destruction. It's taking us from 61 to 16. Too late to short. Cover. SDGR ran up hard, broke down hard, formed the bear wedge, and broke again. I don't think it's done yet. We break 31, we may see 25. And finally, all friend and Tech Trader swing along here, which ran all the way up there, is broken down. And now looks to be potentially a short into the high 20s for TGLS. Folks, that's an exhaustive look at the longs, the shorts, the technicals, the ETF that we're concerned about. It's chock full of information for you guys to peruse and review, and please do that so you're prepared for this coming week, which is going to be a big one. This is HB out. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye now.